In this video, I'd like to show you how we can use StatCrunch to construct histograms in order to compare groups. So I am looking at the hospital comparison data, and there's a link in the module. If you would like to follow along, you can click on that link. And this data is made up of a rating that an individual gave a particular hospital, and there are actually two hospitals. So in the first column we have the rating. Each row is a different individual. And the second column is the hospital. So there is a hospital A, and it looks like 20 people responded and gave ratings to hospital A. And if we go down, there's 20 individuals who rated hospital B. So we want to construct a histogram to look at how kind of dispersed this data is. So looking at the ratings of hospital A and then looking at the ratings of hospital B, where do most of the data values lie? We get to see the distribution of values for each hospital. So I want to go under graph and I'm going to construct a histogram. So I'm going to click on histogram. Sometimes when you're trying to construct histograms, you notice you're not given both columns to select. We only have the column rating to select from. And the reason why is because that is the only column that contains numerical data. There is no numerical data in the hospital column, so we can't select that. Histograms can only construct a frequency graph here of numerical data. So I want to click on the rating, and this should be a review, and I want to group by the hospital. So what that means, you're going to group by this categorical column. That's going to split the histogram so that all the A's are in their own graph and all the B ratings are in another graph. Now look what happens if I hit compute right now. What StatCrunch will do, it will construct both. So now we're looking at the histogram just for hospital A. Looks like the most frequent value here is between 75 and 80. That's the most frequent rating that we see. And if you want to look at the second graph for hospital B, you have to hit the arrow. And this is just the 20 responses for hospital B. Now I can flip back and forth to compare them, but it might be a little bit misleading because if you notice along the horizontal axis, we have different intervals. So at the center here, we have a rating of 80, but if we look on the second graph for hospital B, we have a rating of 60. So although they might have a similar shape, they're really not very similar at all if we actually compare them side by side. What we can do is compare them side by side. So I'm going to go back in and edit this. And this is the histogram the menu again, so I have rating selected. I'm grouping by the hospital. But what I want to do is scroll down, and I want to go down to the bottom here where it says for multiple graphs. First of all, I want to use the same X and Y axis. So I want to show that both of these graphs are being constructed on the same axes. And this is important for comparing. The other thing I need to do is to either adjust the rows per page or columns per page. So what I'm going to do is change rows per page to 2. And all that's telling StatCrunch to do is to post both of the, in this case I have 2 graphs, I want to have 2 rows, one for each graph on one page. So again, when you are constructing here, when you're constructing comparison histograms, you want to go to the bottom and you want to make sure you're either going to use rows per page or you could change columns per page. If you want to change that to 2 to see what that looks like, feel free to do that. But I'm going to change the rows per page to 2 and I'm going to use the same X and Y axis. Let's hit compute. And this is what we get. We get 2 histograms. The top graph is showing us the frequencies of values and ratings for hospital A, and the bottom graph is giving us the frequency of values for hospital B. So now we notice they have the same x-axis. They're going over 40, 60, 80, 100. We have the same kind of intervals, 40, 60, 80, 100. They have the same setup. And they have the same y-axis. How would you now look at this and compare them? Well, one thing that I noticed between these, hospital A tends to have most of the values be around 80 or higher than 80, right? We have a lot of values of ratings here around a rating of 80 or higher. Not so much for hospital B. So just informally, if I were to judge these two graphs, these two hospital ratings, I would say that Hospital A looks like more individuals have rated that higher than for Hospital B.